every story has a beginning.
My visa to come to the US had been rejected twice. Going into an industry that's already established, you kind of lose that fair advantage. And I started working at $4.65 was minimum wage.
Do you see your brother as a mentor?
Oh, 100%. Everything I know I learned from him.
How would you want to be remembered?
As a nice, funny, happy-go-lucky person.
Life is
A journey.
Welcome back to BU Talks. Sometimes we think success happens overnight, but what we don't realize is the sacrifice, the time, the energy that went up to build a multi-million-dollar company. Today we have a very special guest, I think someone who's founded multiple multi-million-dollar companies. Karan, welcome to BU Talks.
Thank you so much, Marcel. I'm very happy to be here. Very nice to be having this conversation with you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty fabulous. Thank you for asking.
How was your morning?
Now that you fed me some nice coffee,
Amazing.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Now, Karan, before I begin, you know every story has a beginning. Let's go back to yours. Who is Karan?
So I think it's a very good question because most people don't, think about that. From my earliest days that I remember, we were very close to my mom's side of the family. And my mom's dad had an older brother. And I have an older brother. And my mom's dad and an uncle came from what is today Pakistan. So when 1947, the country split apart, a lot of the Hindus had to move from the Muslim side, which is now Pakistan, to the Indian side, which is Punjab. So they, I guess, in that sense of the word, were immigrants themselves. And they established a very successful business as brothers. And so, that was kind of our role model. And me having my older brother who's 5 years older than I am, I have the same amount of love and respect that I saw in my entire family's eyes for the uncle, for my granduncle. And I think that's kind of what set the stage for us, me especially and my brother, to learn as much as we could from our grandparents and uncles who were all businessmen. So as much time, like I see today, kids are playing video games or going for soccer games. Our best time spent was with them in a car, going to see their customers or going to the factories and essentially just sitting on the floor watching cardboard boxes being made or watching transactions happening and money going in and money going out and all those conversations. That was our favorite pastime, hanging out with our grandparents or uncles just in a business environment.
How old were you?
I was 5.
You were 5 years old and you were going to...
All my summer holidays, anything I remember, I would be with them, going to the factory, just hang out, have lunch, and come back in the evening. Nothing.
So you
sat in a corner.
So you said that your uncle was on your mom's side, right?
Right.
So talk more about that. What was the business? What was it like back then? A lot of kids 5 years old, they don't see the the business side. So what made you go interested in that? What were you interested in?
I think that generally we had a lot of love in our family. So my mom obviously was the oldest sister, and so she loved them so much. So we loved them so much. And then, honestly, I remember like going from our hometown to New Delhi, which is the capital, was a 6 to 7 hour drive. And we'd go with them just so we could have a nice lunch at a 5-star hotel. Like it was that basic. We get to spend time with our uncles and aunts, and we get to have a nice meal at a 5-star hotel, which otherwise we did not have access to. My dad was in the Indian Army. He retired as a full colonel. So we had a lot of services, but we didn't have much money. My dad... When my dad had us, he was probably making $10 a month.
That's it?
That's it, yeah.
How did you survive?
Yeah. Well, that's why, being in the army, so you have the officer's mess. So you go and the food is all given to you by the government.
The government.
But anything else, shoes, or schooling or books or anything. You have to, has to come out of that $10 a month.
Was it hard?
Not for us. I mean, they scraped through and they put us to school, and I mean, that's the life. Everybody had the same life. So that's why, that one lunch at a 5-star meant a lot.
That meant a lot, huh?
Yeah.
So talk to me about the very first memory coming to America.
Well, the very first memory is we land in New York and we make a phone call to our aunt that we've landed here, we're taking the next flight. But I didn't know the system. I was, never been out of India. And we put in the 35 cents and the machine just kind of ate it. So then when the operator came on, I said, hey, I put in 35 cents. And the machine ate it, and they took our address, and when we got home a week later, the check came for 35 cents from AT&T, which was, my first memory that this country is so amazing that, you guys leave your ice outside, you leave your firewood outside, and nobody takes it. I'll give you a recent example. About 10 years ago in India, there was a huge drive because one of the biggest problems India has is that, we don't have enough toilets.
Yes.
So a lot of the poor or lower middle class people still go outside in the villages. So Prime Minister Modi put out 2-3 million portable toilets in the villages, in the countryside, and now they've took them home. They've built a home in them, or they use them for their tailor shops, use them as storage. Overnight, all the toilets disappeared. So I come from that country where even if you leave your shoes outside, when you go to the temple, you're supposed to leave your shoes outside. You come out, shoes
they
are
take
gone.
It?
So
So that was when you first came to America, that was shocking to you. You were like, wow,
Absolutely.
this is an amazing country. What age was that at?
I was 21 years old.
You were 21. What
Yeah.
made you guys do that life-changing move from India to the United States at 21?
See, my older brother was always, we were very close growing up. So he left, he did his college here. He came when he was 17. And it was my desire to come and, join him as well. And I mean, by that time, we were doing pretty well. My dad had already established a manufacturing plastics business in India. And I was working with him. So I started working in business at my age, 17 also. So I was helping him, in the factory, whatever was needed, with maintenance. I could actually operate the machinery myself. But, my mom got a green card in the mail. She had applied to come to the U.S. in 1984. And by 1996, we had all forgotten that she had done that. And we got a huge mail from the United States Embassy from New Delhi. And it said, Mrs. Khanna, your spouse, and your children under the age of 21 have a green card to the U.S. And I was 20 years and 9 months old.
How did I feel?
It's insane. Are you kidding? You mentioned earlier before we started that there are times in your life where you're so, you wake up in the morning and you're desperate and you're like, what will become of me? That's an existential question that every, I think, 17 or 18-year-old asks themselves. Because, at the time, I can tell you my story. I was like, okay, all the major things in life are done, right? The cars have been made, the trains have been made, the engines have been made. What industry can I attach myself to? And this was 1995, just at the dawn of the internet. But I didn't know that. I was a kid in India. What industry can I become part of that's going to blow up overnight, where I can have a fair chance, at competing with my peers? Because going into an industry, and I've thought a lot about this since those years, going into an industry that's already established, you kind of lose that fair advantage, the fair playing field, right? And what do I mean by that? For example, if you try to get into technology today, or if you try to get into internet today, or create a new, let's say, a new tool in the technology space, we cannot do it because it's now already come to a point where it has become so sophisticated, and it's been 30 years. Now all the newer stuff will come from the big 5 companies, as you can see now, and I predicted this 10 years ago. When people came to me and say, oh, I'm doing this in tech, I'm like, you're just making, if you think of a car, you're just thinking of making a new nut or a new steering wheel. But the new cars cannot come from you and me. And that's what happened. Tesla came out of nowhere.
Yes.
But he was already an 800-pound gorilla. You and I, as people of the population cannot really come up with something new. But when it's the dawn of that industry, then you can. So my point is, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I remember my mom and I are in the car. We're going to my grandfather's house from our town. And I'm in the car, and my visa to come to the U.S. had been rejected twice, right? They're like, well, you're a young man. You're going to go to the U.S. You're going to stay there. True. And, you know, you're going to take jobs away from other Americans. True. Actually not. I provided a lot of jobs, over 5,000 jobs to Americans in my career. Yeah. And anyway, I'm like, Mom, what's to become of me? And she looks at me and says, so we're passing this Sikh temple, and said, just close your eyes and praise the Lord, and I promise you, you will come out on top. And 2 months later, get the green card. 3 months later, I'm in the U.S. And my first job actually was, my mom took me. You're going to hear a lot about my parents because they're very, very significant in our lives. So, you know, you talk about coming to America, that first instant. My actual, the AT&T story is great, but the other actual story is we literally land, and the next day my mom takes us to, the equivalent of a Pavilions. And I'm just amazed, it smells good. And all I wanted was a deodorant stick. I'm not even joking, like the first Gillette deodorant stick that I bought for ourselves. And after that, my mom says, okay, come with me, puts me in the car. My brother's already working, so he's at work. And takes me to the closest McDonald's. And she says, that's the manager, go ask him for a job. I'm like, you want me to work at a McDonald's? She's like, yeah. If while you wait to see what you want to do, you want to get accustomed to the American slang, the American way of doing business. And she used to work at Dunkin' Donuts, putting us through college. So like, you will work? I said, I will work. I went to the manager, I said, I would like a job. He interviewed me on the spot. And I started working at $4.65 was minimum wage.
$4.65.
$4.65 an hour.
While you were doing that, and you were in college at the same time.
No, finished. College was done. Thankfully, college was done. I came to the U.S. right after I finished college. And I picked up a job at McDonald's the second day after I came to the country. And I worked there for 2 weeks. And my mom and my aunt, her sister, they came through the drive-through and said, we got you another job at $5.25. So say hasta la vista to them and get in the car. I'm like, okay. So I get in the car. I don't know if you know these temp jobs, where you go and you do data entry and all of that stuff. So I was very good at typing and, pretty smart myself. I didn't think so at the time. So then I get a job as a temp worker doing data entry at $5.35 an hour. And then I got a job at Best Buy for like $6 an hour. So those were the first 3 months. Mm-hmm. And then I interviewed with Oracle Consulting. That's the company my older brother was working for in technology. Oracle's a pretty big tech company. And I got a job offer for $38,000 a year. At the same time, my brother Nitin was consulting for Canon USA. Yes. in New York. And I interviewed with them as an independent consultant. So this was a job, which was a salary, mm-hmm. and then they would put you on as a consultant at some company. This was direct to Canon, and he negotiated a rate of $58 an hour.
And at that time?
In 1997, $58 an hour. I was 21 years old. I'd never seen a computer. I got the job offer on the phone. I had him write down all the questions and answers, including, how they say at the end of every interview, what questions do you have of us? Mm-hmm. I'm like, what questions could I have of them? Can you write down that as well? So I took the interview over the phone. I'm 21 years and 3 months old. I think it was March or April of 97. I give the interview. I ask my dumb questions. They give the answers. They already knew my brother, so they knew it was a trusted source. I get the job offer on the phone. I take my broken laptop. I get on a flight, my second flight ever, from Chicago to New York. My friend Jennifer, my brother's friend, my friend now, picks me up. And I go to the office the next day. All I've learned is how to do the most basic programming on the planet. Like it's called Oracle SQL Plus. And just stayed ahead of what was needed of me by just a few days. And I would call my brother, okay, this is what they're asking me to do. And he would tell me what to do, and I did it. And within a year, I was managing all 25 of their people. So I went from a consultant to a project manager in less than 18 months.
Then, right afterwards, you started your first...
That was the first, how the company got started, actually.
Started.
Yeah.
Okay. What sacrifice did you have to sacrifice to get to that level?
I think at that point, because of how we were raised, most of the things that were expected for me to do or my brother to do was part of our training, that, you know, whatever we're asking you to do, you kind of just do it. So what kids today might consider a sacrifice was just part of our duty at the time. Right? So I'll give you an example. Like, many cousins came after me, and I was like, okay, come work in my company. And they're like, well, we don't want to be in software. It's so boring. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Like, it made no sense, like, what these kids that came after me, because they had not been trained that when an older brother says, do something, you just do it, which I was trained, right? So if somebody asked me, how did you get here so fast? I just looked at my brother. He said, this is what we're going to do. I just did it. So we didn't waste any time in going back and forth in friction. Is what I want to do is so different from what you want to do and how you... No. This is how you treat women. This is how you eat sushi. Like, you have to imagine, all of this was new to me. Eating sushi, ordering Mexican food. He took me for my 21st birthday, and I cried so much. I'm like, I told you I don't want to eat Mexican food. Why couldn't you take me to Indian food? Like, stuff like that. But that's not a sacrifice, right? But so to other kid, it might be a huge sacrifice, leaving the country, coming here. For me, I'm just with my family. My mom was there. My dad came soon after us. We were one happy family, and there was no sacrifice as such. My brother, I think, made a lot more sacrifice. He came when he was 17, and he came to his aunt. You see, I came at 21 with my mom and dad, and my brother was already established here. So I think for me it was much different than what somebody else, or the leader of the group, you know, the first person who lands. Maybe like your first Chaldean cousins or uncles who came here.
Do you see your brother as a mentor?
Oh, 100%. Everything I know, I learned from him.
Do you see him more as a mentor than your dad?
So dads are dads. I don't think dads should or can be mentors, right? I mean, that is inbuilt into our DNA to learn from dad. So everything I've learned is from my dad and my mom and my brother. But a mentor is somebody who actually goes out of their way to teach you things that otherwise you wouldn't know. So in that sense, my brother is my main mentor.
How did he do that for you?
I mean, very simple. Like, same thing. Third or fourth day after I'm home, he's like, okay, come, I'm going to show you how to program. And he sat me down and he taught me more than any institute can ever teach you. And not just in technology, but also, like I said, you know, how to dress up for a meeting, and how to go about, how to even think, how to even, you know, like something as simple as you're in America, this is what a Democratic Party, this is what their values are, this is the Republican Party, this is what their values are, this is how we will think about politics, this is how we will think about, you know, treating other people with respect. All of that came from my brother.
So in our generation now, as you said, you listen to your brother as your mentor, right? He told you, do this is how you treat a girl, this is how you eat sushi. But now in our generation, they see that as, if I ask my older brother for something, I see that as weakness. I see that as, okay, you know what? Why did I ask him that? Can I open up to my brother? Can my brother help me become successful? Because now a lot of, in our time, brothers don't always want what's best for you. So what, do you agree, disagree on that?
I disagree. I think I was slightly, I'll explain my point slightly differently. See, when you say, because you're younger than I am, so when we say today, times have changed, whether it's a brother's relationship or the relationship between a 21-year-old and how they go to work, or even your 5-year-old or a 10-year-old who's playing too much on their video games and not playing out enough. And, when I remember when we were growing up, my parents didn't check on me, right? I could go to my friend's house and come back at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. They didn't know where I was. There was no checks and bounds, no play dates, right? So all of that falls into today versus then. I think it's more of a where you are in your point in life. So there are still kids who go out and play all day, who are not on their video games, but they're just what my family was 30 years ago. Not very well to do, not having those means, living in a neighborhood where all the kids play together. And now we have graduated or become so successful, the homes and our communities are so much bigger. Your closest friend lives 5 miles from you versus across the street. And so when you're talking about, there are brothers who are doing that for each other, where their economic or social status is not like where you are today. Where your brother is, no, I'm not talking about your brother, where a brother today who's already making $500,000 a year or making $250,000 a year has to take care of his own mortgage, his own wife, his own kids, may not have the time to take out of his day or life for somebody else. Whereas if you go to another socioeconomic place in 2026, where both brothers grew up together and they know the only chance of survival is to stick together, they will have a different outcome.
So you said something about success. Now, I always like to ask this question. What is success to you?
The problem with success is it keeps evading you, right? I'll tell you what I mean by that. So we were going back 20 years. My brother and I were already very successful, right? Like beyond our... You imagine,
Dreams.
he was making, when I came to the US, he was making $75,000 a year. And I was a McDonald's, right? Within 1 year, we are putting away $600,000 a year. Our third year, we did 1.8 million. Our fourth year, we did 6.5 million in revenue. Our fifth year, 28 million. Sixth year, 35, 70, and then 128 million. That's how we grew from year 1 to year 10. So around the fifth year mark, we're like, or fourth year mark, we're kind of stressed, we have to make payroll. Like when you're growing this fast, there's always so many issues. And we're like, no, maybe it was year 2. So my mom asked us, okay, what's our goal? So both of us said, okay, when we make $1 million, we go back to India. Okay. The second year comes around, like, no, when we make 1 million each. And the fourth year comes around, when we make $10 million, we'll go back to India. Then that became 10 each, then it became 100 each. So success, you kind of have to keep chasing it, I think. But overall, if you can wake up in the morning, you have a beautiful wife and kid, and you're, very good relationship with your family, I think for me, that's very important. And that gives you the strength to go out and make as much money as you want.
So you just shocked me right now, because I didn't really know that. You just said year 1 you hit $1 million.
Year 1 was 200,000.
200,000.
600.
600.
Then 1.8.
1.8.
And 6 million.
So how, at 21, right? At 21, all that money coming in, like, what did you feel? What was it like? Because I want to, like, for me, when I get, like, right now, I get a check for $5,000. I'm like, $5,000 in my account. Let's go shopping. What was the feeling like for you?
No, there was no shopping. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I think we were just operating under the same principles like our grandparents, which is money comes and stays in the bank. We had to make payroll. Like, when you're growing that fast, you're always hiring people, and you always have to make that payroll, and you always have. So we were always kind of short on cash, actually, because even though in your P&L, you're making a lot of profit, but the cash flow was going out, buying more servers, buying new offices. That was, maybe if you say, what's the one sacrifice I would have over those 10 years, I had no friends. I had 100% of my friends work for me or my brother and his family. Like, what would we do? We'd come back from work. I mean, we were very efficient. So we would work from, even the year we grew from 240 people to 900 people. First, we went from 40 consultants to 240. So we added 200 people in 1 year. Just to put that in context, that's 4 people a week. That means that's 30 interviews a week. We had 2 people just making computers and furniture in the office to keep up with the demand. Even those times, I was home at 3:30 in the afternoon. Like all our work would get done by 3:30. We would go play golf, and then I'd go home. My wife would come back from work. We would get ready, go to my brother's house, have dinner, go home, go to sleep. That was our life.
So Karan, so I was shocked. You just said that you built from 200,000 to 240 million. Explain that to me.
So you have to imagine that this was 1997. The internet and the new wave of technologies were just coming on board. So my first company, Sabre Corporation, specialized in creating very large software programs for large companies and government. So when we first started, we had multiple customers that we were doing this for. But then in 2002, we started working with the state of Oregon. And for the state of Oregon, they had 3 or 4 major projects that had gone years. Nobody could get them finished. And I came and I literally my brother and I, we fixed all their problems in 2 years. So then their largest new contract was elections management. And so there was a new law called Help America Vote Act that said that all elections management must be brought into the 21st century, like upgraded the systems by January 1 of 2006. Okay, so that provided our customers to go into this frenzy that they have to get this new system on board. So when we focused on that, we had other businesses as well, other clients. When we focused on that, that's where all this revenue growth came from. So just so your audience knows as well as you, my brother and I created the current elections management and centralized voter registration system for the United States.
So you're the founder of that.
I'm the founder of that. I personally implemented that system in 12 states.
Wow.
Yeah. So that growth came from having just 40 people in the year we first started working on the elections, then getting those contracts for about 5 states, and then hiring the 200 people to start working not only on the back end, which is creating the platform, but also on the front end, which is, you're getting phone calls from your customers for help desk and those kind of things. So I was literally hiring people who had no experience and training them.
How did that feel, being an immigrant in America and having your name on the foundation of the election system in the United States?
That's why you see me smiling so big, man. It's a pretty good feeling. Like I can be in any room with anyone, and when I say that, it's like mic drop, like done. After that, nobody can say anything about who they are, what they've done, because this is just too big of a thing.
This is gonna go down in history.
Yeah.
And is that something that you're gonna be like proud for your kids? Like,
yeah, 100%.
This is who your
I'm
dad
proud
was?
for myself. Are you kidding? It's huge. We didn't even know at the time. Like we were just so in it that when we sold our company in 2007 and we quit the company in 2008, I could not even take a phone call for the first almost a year and a half without flinching, because every phone call meant a huge fire. Because we were across the country, we had offices in 40 states. If I as the chief operating officer, president and chief operating officer, got a phone call, that means shit has already hit the fan. So every phone call was, fire emergency, saving lives, get on the next plane, while my wife is pregnant with my son, and like call the doctor, can I travel this week? Yes, you can. Get on the midnight flight, go to Maryland, go to South Carolina, meet with the executives, fix the issue, fly back home. That was what the last 2 years of my life looked like. So I guess when you talked about sacrifices, Monday through the following Thursday, my wife never saw me. Every week after week. for
How
2
did
years.
your wife cope with that?
Very well, I guess. I don't know. You can ask her, but
Do you let me rephrase that question real quick. Do you think that all that time spent, all that building that company, would you give all that up to spend maybe an extra hour with your wife or your family?
So I think, I referred to something earlier, because when I am in town, I see a lot of business people or even people in jobs today. When they come home, they bring all the work with them. In the sense, either they're still talking about what happened at work, or they'll pull out their phone or their laptops and they're working. No, not me. When I come home, you'll never see me. You saw me last night. I'm never on my phone. If I'm hanging out with my family, you'll never see me distracted. So for that reason, when I was even in those travels, she didn't mind it that much, because when I'm home, I'm home. I'm not talking about work. I'm not doing work. I finish. It's like when you leave your office, you put the laptop down. That was me. Shut the laptop, come home, brand new day. So I think in that, and we were always together anyway. So I'll take her on some of these trips. She'll come with me. When she was pregnant, I remember we went to South Carolina. So some trips she came with me. When I was in Chicago, she was in New York. She'd come to me on every other trip. She'd come with me. So we had a very fun time together. But I don't think we gave that up. But yes, my point was that the last 2 years, because we were growing so much faster. Imagine going from 200,000 to 600,000 is adding 4 people.
Yes.
Going from 40 to 240 is adding 200 people. Going from 240 to 1,400 is adding. So at those numbers, doubling or tripling is 10x the work.
I'm still shocked.
Even more.
200 people in 1 year?
Yeah.
And
these are high-paying jobs, like proper jobs, right?
I'm just imagining, how did every single interview go?
5 minutes or less. I was just waiting for a glint in their eye.
That's it.
That's it.
You knew.
I knew.
You can tell by somebody.
The other thing is that I feel a lot of focus has been placed on resumes, which doesn't make any sense to me, because a resume only gives you past performance, and you could be a bad actor or a good actor in a bad job, right? So a resume never looks at a potential. I only look at potential. I never look at what you've done in the past. So we used to score everyone on their attitude, their skills, and their work ethic, right? So work ethic, attitude, and competency. The WAC system, I got it. WAC, all right? So you'd get a score of 1 to 5, and you would rate your colleagues, your bosses, and the people who work for you. And the philosophy is that your work ethic and attitude has to be 5 out of 5. That's what makes you a super star. Because the competence, which is skills, I can teach you how to program. But if you have a bad attitude, I can't teach you a better attitude.
100%.
That was your parents' job.
Yes.
Or your school's job. That's not my job. So then we would just fire you. So if your report came in and you're 3 on the work ethic, but 5 on skills, you're fired. Back then it was much easier to fire. So
Much easier to fire now?
yeah, no, you can't fire anyone.
So going back to I'm going to go back real quick to your brother. What if you didn't take his advice?
So I think in the mentorship, and this is very important, in the mentorship phase of our lives, it was not advice as much, showing me what he does and let me pick on what I thought I should be doing, right? So you can also break that up into technical skills, which is, hey, this is the computer, this is how we should do it. But the advice was never, go do this. It's like, I'm doing this, come with me, right? That's very different from, I feel, how advice is given from, and that's where the mentor part comes in. If you go to somebody who's not mentoring you and you ask for advice, that's different, because then you can take it or take it as good advice or bad advice. When somebody's showing you that they are who they are and you want to emulate them, then you just do what they're asking you to do. When we were actually running the company, we had lots of different opinions, right? So if we are sitting in a meeting and everybody else is an employee, they're looking at us. So we almost made sure that both of us took the exact opposite sides of the spectrum when making a decision, so everyone could feel part of the, they can say, or they can express themselves freely. When we had our own arguments, he would just beat me up.
You're the younger brother.
I'm the younger brother. And, over the years, we have differences on our politics, for example, and we just don't discuss it anymore because we both know it's too hurtful for each other. I think we have a slightly different relationship what most, siblings would have. But I certainly don't think that if there was advice given, I was free to take it or disregard it. Another example is when I met my wife, we had just very briefly met, and then she went back to India. First, my brother gave me the advice, don't try to bring her into the company, because if you do, you'll never really find out if you actually love her, or, somehow that work-love relationship will fuck you up.
Or she wants you for your money.
No money. There was no money. We were very poor then. She's been
poor.
married 25 years.
Okay.
We've been married 25 years. So this was very much in the beginning.
Begin.
It was more about, it's going to mess things up if she's, let's say you bring her in in the office as an admin, right? Which was very easy to do. But then where are you going to go from there? You may never get married. That was what I realized later. At the time, I'm like, I'm going to listen to him. So I told my wife, listen, we can't help you. And so she went back to India because she was here on a tourist visa. And I found myself, not being able to stay without her. And after a month, I got on a flight. I went to India and I proposed to her. And at that point, my brother said, it's too soon to propose to her. And that's one of the advice I did not take. And I went with my heart. And that turned out to be the best decision of my life. But just to finish that, in reverse, once I had made that decision, he was with me 100%. You see, most people, when they give you advice and you don't take it, it creates friction. Mm-hmm. And that puts pressure on the relationship. In our case, advice was given, and when it was not taken, did not create any friction. It was like, okay, you're my brother, you made this decision, I'm with you 100%.
So, when you said that your brother told you, don't hire her, and this is you only known her for a month.
Couple months, yeah.
Couple months you've known her, and she's like, don't. What made you go back? You're like, what was so special about her? What was it that you're like?
That's its own podcast.
That's its own podcast?
Yeah,
we have to go.
Well, Priyanka and I are our own pod. That's a totally different session. It's been the ultimate joyride of my life.
Really?
Oh my God, it's
that means
insane.
Maybe we have to do episode 2 with you and the wife.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
So, we'll stay away from the wife. Let's go into more your business. So you started Sabar, right? That was the Sabar. That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you also started a franchise with Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
What was that about? Talk to me. What made you go from, because your story is kind of interesting. You went from tech to fitness, then we're going to go back to later on to tequila.
Yeah.
So talk to me more about that.
So I think because when I do something, and this is me looking back, I could not tell you at the time I thought this way. For example, I described to you how intense the last 2 years of Sabre were, right? Yeah. So when I do something, I do it with a lot of intensity. And when that project is done, my intensity runs out, right? So to get back into technology I just couldn't even think about it. Like, first, to get back to work. So from 2008 to 2014, I actually didn't even work. I was completely retired. We moved to Newport Beach.
At what age?
I was 31 years old. I had a 1-year-old son. And we just traveled the world. We had a beautiful home in Newport Beach in Crystal Cove. And for 6 years, we were just 2.5 people, and we just went around the world eating and drinking, which is how I got to the tequila. But I was I'm very fond of good food and wine and whiskeys and tequilas. And so went to Mexico and France and Italy and Napa Valley and Scotland and Japan and everything in between. My wife's very well known in the fashion world, so did a lot of couture shows in Paris and Milan, and all of that. So didn't do anything for 6 years, and then came upon this opportunity with a friend of mine to get into the franchise business, and we saw the numbers, and the numbers were very, very good. So we started with one in 2014, and I built 28 locations in 7 years.
7 years, 28 locations. And this is your second multi-million-dollar company you've built. And how old are you now? If you
I'm
remember?
50. I just turned 50.
You just turned 50.
Right.
So over all these years of experiences, you've built empires. And you just said 5,000 employees you've employed over the lifespan. Were you ever afraid that it was all going to go down?
Every day. Every day I wake up, I'm like, this can still go away.
And how did you live with that? Because for me, with that much pressure, where I'm holding on to all these jobs and all these people's lives in my hand, and at any moment it can just go away, I would feel crushed. I would feel afraid every day.
I think, you have to have that fortitude. I mean, you have to be able to hold those many conflicting thoughts in your head at all times to do something really great. If you don't have that, then I guess then get a job and, do what the employer tells you and just do it. I think that's a very good way of life. There's nothing wrong with it. Get a better job, get a better paying job. But my brother and I we always talk about holding equal and opposite high intensity conflicting thoughts at all times. You never go to sleep having put an issue to rest, ever. You wake up in the morning crouched, because there's those many new things, conflicting things that you have to take care of. It's hard.
It is hard. So after the Planet Fitness, what was the next journey?
After Planet Fitness, then obviously in 2000, by now I've traveled the world. I've eaten and drank my way through the world. I've seen how good luxury brands do it. I've been hosted by the CEO of Louis Vuitton, CEO of Dior, and owners of Chanel. I've had the good fortune of being hosted by them, and I see how they do things and what works in my head and what doesn't. And at the same time, I was getting more into fine tequila. And I happened to be on a trip to Mexico, to Guadalajara. And one day, part of the tech conference was that we all went to a distillery in the town of Tequila, just short of the town of Tequila, at Herradura. And when I saw what tequila, how it's made and what it's all about, it's essentially a combination of wine and whiskey. So whiskey comes from grain, right? Grain alcohol, which is wheat and barley and malt. And there's no emphasis or focus on where did this grain come from. It's just wheat. You take any kind of wheat and you make whiskey from it, right? All the beauty and the perfection comes in aging the alcohol. In wine, it's all about the grape, okay? That's why you're like, this wine is, when you say this wine is from Bordeaux, actually the grape is from Bordeaux, or the grape is from Burgundy, or the grape is from Napa. So a lot of emphasis, or maybe 100% of the emphasis, is on growing the grape in the right region. It's called terroir. And that is what makes it beautiful. So for example, if you took a Cabernet Sauvignon grape and you grow it in San Diego, it'll be a shit grape.
Yeah.
And it'll be a shit wine. So to make great Cabernet Sauvignon, you have to go to Napa or to Bordeaux or to Italy.
The certain environment.
Certain environment and certain, right. So then when you get the juice out of there, so that's wine, you get the juice out, and then you age it like whiskey. So instead of grapes, you're using agave. And agave, similar to grapes, grapes has 5,000 types of grapes. The most common ones are Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay for white, Sauvignon Blanc, like that, Pinot Noir. In tequila, you have obviously the most famous one is the Blue Weber agave. So tequila can only be made with Blue Weber agave. And it can only be made in 5 regions that have been designated by the country of Mexico. So just like champagne cannot come from outside of Champagne, tequila can only come from that part of, mostly in Jalisco, near the town of Tequila, and only blue Weber agave. Okay, so you get that beautiful agave from the right region, grown in Jalisco, and you get the juice out, and then you age it like whiskey. So that's what I mean by it has the best of both worlds. And so I fell in love with tequila, and I've been drinking fine tequila for about 15 years now. So when people say, shots, and I've graduated from that, I'd say I have a very good palate and nose, and I can, smell very fine things. So then I learned about additives. So a lot of tequila, almost 90% of tequila that's available to you in the market today, believe it or not, is flavored. So I asked my friends, would you ever drink flavored wine? And everyone's like, no. I'm like, what if I brought you a Mouton Rothschild and I said, here's a Mouton Rothschild, but here's exactly the same Mouton Rothschild, but I cooked it up at home? You'd never drink it. Yet, all of us drink flavored tequila every day. And what do I mean by that? So there are 4 types of flavors that are added, 4 types of things that are added to tequila. The first one is glycerine, to make the juice thicker in your mouth. The second one is sugar, like artificial sweeteners. The third one is color. And the fourth one is actual flavors, whether it's oak flavor, vanilla, caramel, or whatever else you like. And honestly, even though I'm in the business, even only 6 years ago, I could not have explained to you what I'm going to explain to you right now. Even 2 years ago, I did not have the clarity that why are these additives being used? It comes down to the quality of the grape or of the agave in wine and in tequila. So when you cut, it takes 5 years to 6 years for this blue Weber agave to grow inside the ground before it matures. So the best way to think about it is a pineapple, right? If you buy a pineapple from Hawaii that is orangish, yellowish orange, so I'm going back to the whole region story. When you buy a Hawaiian apple that's yellowish orange, that juice is exquisite. Your green pineapple from your Trader Joe's or wherever else you're buying it here is thin, it's high in acidity, it burns, it's low in sweetness, and you're like, right? Now, if you try to make alcohol or if you try to make a mango shake from a ripe mango versus a raw mango, you're going to have to add sugar and ice cream to make the raw mango taste better. But if it's a ripe mango, it's ready to go. So all these tequilas, they're made with juice from 3.5-year-old agave. So then they don't have a choice. They have to add the glycerine because the juice that comes out of a 3.5-year-old agave is thin and it's extremely high in acidity and it's low in sweetness. So to fix all of that, they have to make it sweeter, they have to add the glycerine, and they have to add the flavors that were missing because there's no complexity in the juice when they made the
That's why
the
it
tequila.
burns.
And that's why you first have a bite, then it burns, and then you have the bad aftertaste. Because when you have NyQuil, it's sweet, but you have an aftertaste. That's what it is. So that's why NyQuil is also thick. So it's basically you're drinking all of that, and that's why they say bad tequila gives you a headache, because you have all of these extra stuff in it. So I always wanted to be in the alcohol business, going back 28, 29 years when I had my first sip of wine in Napa Valley. And so in 2020, I was like, okay, I tried to buy a couple of tequila companies, and then I learned about these additives. And then we decided to make an additive-free tequila. So went down to Mexico and met a lot of suppliers, and we found somebody who we love. And we found this liquid, and I came home, came up with the name, the bottle, the packaging, and we got into shelves in 2022.
What made you pick El
Cristiano.
El Cristiano.
So every company we start, we have a value system or a mission. So for El Cristiano, the tequila company, it was purity, passion, and purpose. Okay? The word purity actually encompasses everything I just talked about, right? To create delicious tequila from purity, you have to source the agave when it's ripe. You have to make sure you don't add additives. You have to make sure of many, many, many things. So that pure word captures all of it. Passion, you can tell I'm very passionate about it. And the purpose is to give back to the community of where this most actually godlike substance comes from. You know, it's revered as the goddess of tequila. There's a goddess of tequila in Mexico, and they pray to her. And so giving back was very important because I come from a third world country where I've seen so many times, hundreds of times, where people come and either take our ideas or get inspired by our ideas, and then they never come back and give back. So it was very important to my brother and I that we give back. So the same day we launched El Cristiano Company, private, LLC, we created what we called El Cristiano Foundation, Fundación El Cristiano. It's on our website. Please go check it out. And so we asked our local partners to find projects where we can personally give back and make an impact, not just write a check that goes to administrators and this and that, and you never know what happens. So in the beginning, now we have lots of projects we work on, but in the first year, it took about a year to find, we found 3 or 4 projects that we really, basically everything we liked. The first one was the school that's associated, before I get there, so the name. So the name is an homage to Mexico, you see, because in all my travels, about 50 countries now, the Mexicans are the loudest, proudest Christian people I know. Like every Mexican person I know, when you go there, first of all, they're very generous. They're always graceful, gracious. They invite you to their homes. You go into their homes. There's always a picture of baby Jesus, Mother Mary. It's all focused around their family. So it's a culture that I found the most similar to India, to us Indians. The colors, the breads, the mole, the curries, everything. And secondly, I love how proud they are as a Christian nation. Like if you go to France, they're not proud to be Christian, honestly speaking. So it's an homage to Mexico, to the people of Mexico. We put so we don't forget our purpose. We put it on the bottle. The number 1761, that's the year the town of Arandas was founded by Christians. The very large church is there. And that is also we don't forget our purpose. That's where we come from. So we want to give back to the community of Mexico, starting with Arandas. So the first 10 projects are all in Arandas. And in this town, the Church of Arandas has 2 schools, about 120 children, and we found they only have 2 computers. So the first thing I did was I bought 60 laptops and I shipped them, and we distributed 30 laptops to each school. And it's not as easy as it sounds, like exporting from America, importing, all of that. The second project was about 30 years ago, the mayor of Arandas, along with his wife, started a home for children. These are children who either are orphans or their parents are, victims of drug abuse or are drug abusers or abuse each other, whatever the problem might be in the family. So they are brought to this home, and it's built with a lot of purpose. I can go into that. That's a 30-minute conversation by itself. But we saw these children, absolutely loved what they were doing. With our help, they have a new roof, they have new kitchen, new laundry systems. But we also send them a check every month, because one of the main problems of any charitable organization is not knowing where the next check is coming from. So to provide that sense of comfort, with our help, they have gone from 25 children to 40 now. They have a full-time psychologist on board. They can go to more dentist appointments. They can go to more physician appointments. Very proud of what we've been able to do there. Now been associated with them for over 4 years.
Going back to the foundation.
So that's the foundation, El Cristiano. Since then, we do anything that comes across my way. essentially. It doesn't cost that much, and we wish to do a lot more. But I think the main 4 projects we're still doing. But, for example, the soccer team, we get it's $1,500 a year to get them new jerseys, new shoes, the whole thing. We sponsor a children's bicycle team that teaches them how to be in an environment where you're competing, where you have to be diligent, where you have to show up, where you have to perform. We only hire women in our distillery, and we pay them 8 hours to work for 7 hours, so free up 1 more hour for their family. So very small things that I think have a huge impact on those people. And so that's its own living thing. But to come back to why we call it El Cristiano is, again, so we don't forget that we have to give back to where we make this and where this tequila comes from.
So I think the biggest misconception about wealth is, like you said, giving back. But most people think that once you make it to a certain status, that they don't see you giving back, right? They have always that misconception about wealth is, well, he's a millionaire, he should be giving a lot more, right? What is your message to those people that have made it, that have reached that level of success, to kind of motivate them to start what you did?
I think it's a personal journey, first of all. I think charitable giving or doing something where you can make a difference has to come to you on your own. My advice to everyone would be to start somewhere, to start small, start at home, start with your own, if you have somebody who works for you. And I think most people, and there are 2 types of people who want to show that they're doing something, and people who want to do something and they don't really care if it's being shown or not. But you can still get to anywhere by starting doing small charitable events. Like I said, for me, I start at home. People I work with on a daily basis, they see the most of my generosity. Things that I'm connected to, for example, El Cristiano, you'll see more. But if I'm invited to a dog charities for dog event, I'm not really that interested. So you may see that side of me and not know that Karan's, is generous or not. You may see this side of me and think I'm very generous. So again, it comes from my own parents. My own parents treat everyone who works with them very, very well. In India, you have a lot of people who work for you. And I see my other people in my life that are not gracious with the people who work for them. My parents are extremely, so I think it comes directly from them.
Because there's a saying, I think that saying, they say happy life, happy wife, but I think I'm going to use that saying, but happy employee, for me personally, is when I'm employed by somebody, I treat that business like it's my own business.
Right.
Because just like how I want somebody in the future to run my business, I want the other person to run my business.
Right.
So, but when you give them that family, hey, you're family with me, that makes them feel a part of
something bigger,
the growth, instead of being just another number on their payroll sheet.
That's exactly right, and that's why your employees will never leave you, and that's why no employee has ever left me. I've fired thousands of people, but nobody's ever left me.
So, has all this success, all this money, all this fame, has it ever changed your friendships, you growing up?
No. All my friends are I just still go back to India, and people I grew up with are still my friends. I hang out with them. New friends I make here, I hang out with them. That hasn't changed. I don't think... Somebody told this to me actually a long time ago. When you become rich, you don't change. People around you change. So there have been instances where people around me have changed, and unfortunately I've had to give up on those relationships.
How so?
When people first come around you, let's say you're a celebrity or, somebody of influence, they want to get to know you. They want to be your friend. And, if they're decent people and, you allow them into your lives. But then they get jealous of you, of the exact same things that they've once found were fascinating. And then they start doing bad things, like, talk behind your back, or, if I'm in a vulnerable moment with you, you're my friend now, use that against me in a conversation outside of when I'm not there. And when you find those things out, then, it hurts. But, that's how they change. They become jealous.
You become jealous of your success.
Or, yeah, of your daily success.
Of your daily success.
Yeah.
So, making decisions in the business world, you're a very successful entrepreneur. You've created a lot of companies and sold them, and you said, I like this model, and I use this model a lot. Build it, sell it. And do you always have an eye for opportunity as an entrepreneur? Because not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Not everybody could, look at that one thing. Like you looked at the bottle, you're like, I can make this better. What is it about you that's different than everybody else? Is it your attention to detail? What is it?
I'll give you an example that you can understand very perfectly. So, when you play poker, okay, you play poker, I'm sure. Everybody plays poker. Anybody who plays poker, whether you're a professional or an amateur, you win the same percentage of hands, okay? The difference is, when a professional wins, he wins the big bucks. When he loses small chips. And an amateur, when he wins small chips. But when he loses the big bucks. I think in life, in business, in opportunities, that's where a certain amount of luck comes, but that's where knowing when to stop throwing bad money after good money also happens. In my case, I've had lots of smaller losses. Businesses that we started did not make it, but maybe that was in the few $100,000 or maybe in the millions. But when we won, we won really big. So it's a combination of, of course, you have to have the hard work and the perseverance and the grit and all of that to keep going. As the old saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. All of that being in play, when you win, in my case, we won really big, and the losses have been smaller.
How did it feel after your first loss? Were you devastated, sad, depressed?
Very fortunately, our first loss was trying to create an Indian fast food business after our huge technology business. So losing that $150,000 after a multi-$100 million win wasn't that bad, but it still hurt.
What made, okay, so it's like with you, like I've noticed a pattern here. It's like you don't say no to anything. Anything in business, I've noticed you don't mind just jumping in.
No, we say no. I say no a lot.
You say no a lot?
Actually, if you want to know what my chief role, my number one role is to say no.
That's it.
Yeah. Chief no officer.
But what made you, like, success, right? Success, people measure it in different ways. How can people now, in this day and age, look at you and say, I want to become like him? How? What is there like a roadmap to get there? Or is it just based all on luck?
No, I don't know if there's a roadmap for me, but from my analysis of what I can tell young people, okay, that how I was thinking differently, because a lot of people, when they go and get these big degrees, or they have a certain predetermined path of their life, whether it's for their spouse, husband, wife, or for their career, that is probably the biggest obstacle, is their own thinking. Because when I say no, I have the luxury to say no now, because I get thousands of ideas thrown at me every day. So I say no to everything. But when I first came here, and I told you, my brother said, let's do computers. I said, let's do computers. Go to New York. I went to New York. Let's go to Portland. I went to New York. If I had any predetermined thought or prejudice that, I only can be in marketing, or I only want to be a this, or I only want to be I would have missed on so many opportunities that God had given my way, and I was saying no to. So to follow a very precise path, and then get very successful, there are a few people like that. Elon Musk is one of them. But I'm sure he's had his fair share of failures, and also he can choose now what to do because he's so successful. But I think when you're young, just like a plant, when you're a young plant, you're supple, you go with the breeze. If at a young age you're stiff, then you're not going to grow into a big tree.
So if I was asked this question, and I want you to really think about it. If everything was gone today, everything, the money, the companies, you have nothing, zero. Where would you start?
Crying in my bed, first of all. let's start there.
I would be crying too, but a lot of people.
I don't know. I'd wait it out. To be honest with you, so I don't know if you surf. When you surf, that you talk about the riptide, right? If you get caught in a riptide, you don't try to swim back to shore, because in that effort you will die. So you allow the riptide to take you out, whether it's half a mile, 1 mile, whatever, and then you wait for the choppers to come and rescue you, or you go around and then you swim back to shore. Okay, same in life. That's why, when you break up with your girlfriend and you go right into another relationship, it's bad. That's why it's considered bad. Same in jobs, same in careers, same in job opportunities, same in businesses. When you are facing an onslaught of bad news or bad luck or bad whatever it is, that's not the time to do anything. That is the time to lay back and relax. It could take 6 months, 9 months. Let the next opportunity come to you. But again, that is only if you've been successful and now you have nothing. I wouldn't go out and try to find the next best thing right away, because I think I'll find the wrong thing.
So
like tequila.
Yeah.
The tequila came to me. I wasn't out. Honestly, I was not looking to do a new company or a new project at all.
Just came out of
At all, ever. I was done, retired, done 2 or 3 companies,
You were happy.
living my life, partying every day. And actually I'm so happy that I did it, because I was becoming very insular. I was very isolationist, where I didn't feel I needed to talk to anyone. And if somebody came up to me, I'm like, you're an idiot, I don't need to talk to you. It was a very bad thing. But I was also getting older, so I was getting into this mindset. And thankfully, because of the tequila now, I'm back to being myself. I'm out, I'm talking to people, and I'm learning new things, and I'm hopefully teaching new things. So
And meeting new people too.
and meeting lots of new people, shaking a lot of new hands, and I'm so happy because of that.
So you know how as you grow up, titles fade, but legacy remains. What do you want people to remember about your legacy?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I don't know if I'm that person. I don't know if I'm that person who thinks about things like that.
Like legacy and
For me, happy
Or-
wife, happy son, happy family. I can do whatever I want to do. That's good for me for now, I think.
let me rephrase it. How would you want to be remembered?
As a nice, funny, happy-go-lucky person who, had a great time in his life, partied as hard as he could, worked as hard as he could, took care of his family as hard as he could. That would be pretty good.
Do you think now growing up, like now you're at a certain age with success, that your kids are going to grow up a lot better life than you did back home? But where you grew up?
I mean, my cousin was visiting last week from India, and I told her, I think these kids should be jealous of us. I mean, the amount of fun we had with no resources, with so many 30 cousins and us just roaming the streets of India.
The family.
These kids cannot have that they're singular. Yeah, they have better iPhones and better shoes than us. Who cares? They are not having as much fun as we did.
No.
No way. But they have a better life. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
makes sense. Now, Khan, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about life?
First of all, life is beautiful. You get up every day. I see, I travel a lot. I see people who don't have the kind of resources we do on the streets of Bombay. They're holding hands with their families, laughing it out. I see extremely rich families, extremely sad. I see everything. So I don't know if I have the answer to that. Not yet.
Not yet. So let me rephrase that a little bit. a lot of people think success is money, right? They think money is gonna buy happiness. Now the true question is, does it truly buy happiness?
Yes, that part is true. A lot of problems can go away with, and I'll explain to you what that means. Let's say your mom falls sick, and if you don't have the money, that's a real problem.
Yeah.
So in that sense, when problems come up, having money can take care of 90% of those issues. And we should be happy about that. I think people lose sight of the fact that having that money to take care of a loved one or an issue or in business, that should also bring you happiness. But that goes unnoticed.
Why though?
Because of the human brain. It's just built like that. We don't remember the happy moments as much as we remember the bad moments. Like, we will never forget COVID.
No, because it was...
Every minute you'll remember it.
I lost my grandpa in COVID.
Lost my
I lost
mom.
my grandma. You lost your mom in COVID too?
Mm-hmm.
Was that hard for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the hardest. When I lost my grandpa, because my grandpa raised me, so I didn't have like a mom and dad figure. My grandpa was my father figure, my mother figure. And when I lost him during COVID, that was a very breaking moment in my life where it hit hard because, like, God, why him? He was perfectly fine. Why him? It made me ask those questions.
Yeah.
I would have gave up pretty much everything I had to spend one more minute with him, because he was in New Mexico and I was here, and I was stupid. I thought he was getting better, because when they called me, like, oh, he's kind of getting better, I was like, oh, I'll just fly out next Tuesday. And at midnight, they call me and they're like, he passed away. That's the one regret I do regret.
So our mom passed away. All our families were with her. She was here in the U.S. My brother and I were at her feet when she passed away. And my brother said something very profound. It's like, if she had gone in India with us being here, that would have been a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's a big loss still, but it's not a tragedy.
Was it?
Because she was here. I don't know how, through COVID, and this was actually what I was referring to about having the money and the resources, getting a private jet to get her from India to here. To spend the last 9 weeks with us.
Were you more closer to your mom than your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Was she
like,
the one?
the joke was that the cord was never cut. You know, the umbilical cord,
Yeah.
with my mom. That's how close I was to my mother, yeah. Very close.
That was very hard, huh?
Yeah. And actually, the way to get over that loss is the reason we believe in God. So, if you can say thank you to all the decisions God has made for you to have a good life, for you to have a happy moment, for you to have a good friendship, or good business, or a good meal, then this is also His choice. How can you say, God, you're so nice on one side, and you're so terrible for taking my mom away? If we respect Him on those moments, it's for that moment is why He gave you so much love.
Do you think He gave you that hardship to test you, to see where was your...
That's that journey between Him and my mother. But for me to believe in God, why I believe in God even more after my mom passed away, that this is why you believe in God. You can't say thank you one day and say, why did you take her away? It's His choice. He gave me this life. And He gave my mom that life also. It's His choice. At the end of the day, it's His choice, right? Otherwise, why believe in God?
Why are we here?
There you go. End of story.
And I've always said this a lot, and a lot of, maybe my mindset, maybe you disagree on it, but I think money comes and goes, and I think that money, people idolize it so much that it takes over their life, that I would give up everything I have just for that one moment that I told you about. Because for me at that time, it was different. I was like, what if? The what if starts happening.
It hit. I'm telling you, if my mom had passed away while I was in the US, I would not even be able to give this interview.
Wow. That would have been that bad. Okay, let's go a little bit past. We're going to do some rapid fire. I do this little segment over here. I ask you questions, and you have to give me one word that comes to mind. You ready? Success is?
Happiness.
Failure is?
Worry.
Biggest fear?
Loss of family.
Biggest blessing?
Family.
Favorite book?
Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Life is?
A journey.
So, with all this, I made you think one thing. Why did you say each of these words?
Because I'm very smart.
We already know you're very smart, but there has to be...
That was for you. That one was for you. I don't know. What was your question? In all these words, why I said those?
Yeah. Because I could have said success is family, but you said success is
Happiness.
happiness. Why?
Well, if your family doesn't bring you happiness, then that's a failure.
Yeah.
Right? You could have a spouse or a parent that doesn't like you. I mean, there's pretty nasty people out there who abuse their parents. There are people who abuse their children. People who abuse. So I think success is if you wake up happy. And I'm absolutely honest with you. I know multi-millionaires who are depressed because they don't have as much money as their friend, right? So in that case, money is not success.
But why though?
Because we're 7 billion people and all of us are different.
We all think all different.
Look, you have 7 features on your face, right? You have a forehead, eyes, nose, mouth, 2 ears, and a jawline.
Yeah.
And yet no 2 people look alike, right? In the
No.
world.
No.
With 7 features. Your brain has 1 billion connections. Neural connections. How can 2 people be the same even if they're from their siblings? To expect the same reaction from another human being in a given incident is stupidity on our part.
Now, I want to end this podcast off with a little message from you. If you were 18 years old right now, what would you tell your younger self?
I'm doing it right now. My son just turned 18. He was first in his class. He had a 1500 SAT. And instead of going to college, I gave him an option. Go live with your grandfather, like I lived with my grandfather in India. Stay with him for a year. Learn from him. He needs you. You need him. Go work in his software company. Learn how to program. Learn what's happening in the AI revolution today. Because if he went to college, he would come out in 4 years. And as you know, in technology, everything moves that much faster, right? So let's say social media has taken 15 years to get to this point. If social media came out today, it would take 4 years to get to this point, right? So AI revolution would have come and gone by the time he's done with college. So go learn what's happening in this transition. 50% of everything we do, or maybe more, is connected to technology. So just using it as an interface but not understanding what's behind it is going to be a huge problem for any child. So these kids who go straight to college and just learn the superfluous stuff and not understand the workings of technology are at a disadvantage. Going to get more disadvantage as time goes on.
Sorry to cut you off. What would you give them one final advice for the younger generation that are growing up in today's age? What should they do?
I would not think of college as what it is in the traditional sense. The education system has not changed even 1% in the last 120 years. And yet the technological advancements, and when I say technology, I don't mean just the tech part. For example, cars, right? Jets, travel. Every single thing we do has grown and changed by leaps and bounds. 4 major career shifts have happened to generations in the last 120 years. And yet the education system's exactly the same. So unless you're studying to be a doctor or an engineer, then you have to go to college. You have to go to college. That's not the point here. But I would try and find more tech-heavy skill sets or courses outside of college as a way to understand how these things, work. For example, 50 years ago, just knowing how your car worked made you intelligent. You know, getting from here to Chicago using a map made you intelligent. Today, you know, nobody even checks their tire pressure anymore. You couldn't change a tire if your life depended on it. So that was important then. This is important now. Know how to fix the wheels of your car in today's environment, whatever that means to you.
I just want to say thank you, Khan, for being here today at BU Talks. Honestly, as your story is such an inspiration, and I think for me, legacy is what matters. Is I want to be 70 years old, 80 years old to remember this moment sitting across from you. It's such a great honor. And thank you for this amazing tequila, a Cristiano, which we're going to put it here, guys. Please follow the foundation too. Anything that you guys can do for the foundation, that would be amazing. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much, Marcel.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.